So what's been going on in the last 12 months? We've had our first breakfast last year. There's a great turnout this year, and a lot's been going on at the RRC. One of the things we wanted to do, we had a strategic plan this year. We wanted to focus on the recovery aspect of what we do. And that's, albeit the name change, the recovery resource. We want to be a resource to the community and also for those individuals that are in recovery. So we changed our mission statement. Our mission statement is to support recovering people on their journey to recovery. And this last year, we've had 47,000 visits to our facility. And we're projecting forward in 5 years, we think that number will be up to 60,000 visits a year. That's per year, folks. So those of you who have been visiting us, God bless you, we're supporting you, and keep coming. We've broadened our vision a little bit to include more educational and outreach opportunities in the community. And we've made presentations to a lot of service organizations. We've been in the middle schools and to our universities. We've increased the number of 12-step meetings to 41 per week. We have 2 bilingual groups, Spanish groups. We've added Gamblers Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Nar-Anon to our roster of 12-step fellowships. And we now host 7 different fellowships. So we also have become a partner with the COAT program in the city, the Community Outreach for Addictions Treatment Program. We've painted the interior of the building. If you haven't been over there recently, it looks lovely. And all of our staff have completed all of their certifications, the CPR, AED, and Narcan trainings. So we've been very, very busy this year. And much of that is the board of directors yesterday were just complimenting Beth on a wonderful job she's done the last 2 years with us. Hard to believe. And we were laughing because actually we were just congratulating ourselves on a great hire when we hired you. So. That was yesterday. Yeah. So at this time, I'm going to have Beth come forward. We have a couple of Recovery Angel Awards to give out. Our Executive Director, Beth Olson.
Thank you for being here today. I'm going to tell you a story, okay? We're just going to do that. I was not going to not do that this morning. Because for those of you who don't know, I think the reason they hired me is because I tell good stories. So this is a really old parable and has everything to do with the awards that we're going to give this morning. And it is the difference between heaven and hell. There was a young man who wanted to walk a spiritual path. And so he went to the master. And he said to the master, "Teach me about hell." And the master took him down a long hallway, and they entered a room on the right. Inside was a magnificent hotel ballroom, chandeliers bigger than that, long tables with white linen tablecloths, silver and crystal. And there were long tables of food with every delicacy known to man. There was escargot, there was fruit, there was cheese, there was meat, there was vegetables, there were salads, there was chocolate, lots and lots of chocolate. The people inside were exquisite. The men were in designer tuxedos, impeccably tailored. Their hair perfectly cut and coiffed. Their fingernails were even clean. The women were in designer ball gowns with their hair exquisitely coiffed. And they had jewels dripping from their ears and their fingers and their wrists. And they were magnificent and beautiful. And everyone in the room was miserable. They were gaunt. They were haggard because their hands were permanently bent like this. And they could not reach the food. They could not get the food to their mouths. The young man looked at the master and said, "They are starving in an abundant world." And the master said, "Yes, my son, that is hell." The young man looked at him and said, "Teach me about heaven, please." So they left the room, went down the hall, and went into a room on the left. Inside that room was a magnificent hotel ballroom with chandeliers bigger than that. There were long tables with white linen tablecloths, silver and china and crystal. There was long tables of food with every delicacy known to man. There was escargot, there was meat, there were vegetables and fruits and salads and chocolate. Lots and lots and lots of chocolate. The men were in designer tuxedos, impeccably tailored, their hair perfectly groomed. Their fingernails were clean. The women were in designer ball gowns, their hair exquisitely coiffed, and they had baubles dripping from their ears and their fingers and their wrists. And they were happy, and they were satisfied, and their arms were bent like this. But they had learned to feed each other. And that, my son, is heaven. Recovery is all about service. Recovery happens when one person talks to another, when one person helps another. That's how we do this thing. And this year we decided we needed to really acknowledge the people who had gone above and beyond to serve the recovery community. So we have 2 awards this morning. And the first award goes to Laura Mitchell. Laura Mitchell has been everybody's mama grizzly bear, fighting the good fight. You know, she has worked on every level. She has worked politically. She's used social media. She is part of caring and sharing in the face of addiction. She is everybody's mama grizzly, fighting for parity in treatment, good treatment, enough treatment, and to help dispel the shame, the stigma surrounding addiction and recovery. She is such a gift to us, and her leaving is such a loss. And we will miss you.
I'll miss you too.
Okay.
Don't make me cry.
And so we are giving Laura our first Recovery Angel Award.
33 weeks and 3 days ago, my life changed. I got a phone call that my son had overdosed at the SAC Center. That day, I don't remember much. I just remember getting to the hospital, and I remember 2 hours in the waiting room, not knowing if he was going to live. When we got him into the hospital room for the night, and when we realized that he was gonna live through that, I set out to find the person that made a difference to my son that day. So I went over to the SAC Center, or the recovery, whatever it is now. I went over there and bombarded them. I needed to know. I had to know. And what I found out that night, one of the gentlemen came out and he went in detail what had happened. This person came out and administered 2 shots of Narcan to my son. And without her, I wouldn't have a son who's 7 months clean. It wasn't his last go around with it, but if she had not been there that day, he wouldn't have made it. We were told that if he would have been 5 more minutes, he would have been gone. I can't even look at her yet because I haven't seen her since the night of the hospital. She came to my son after saving his life. Because of this, Tracy, My son has his life back. You gave me my life back. You gave my daughters their life back. My granddaughter and my grandson have their uncle. And for that, I'm forever in debt to you. Tracy Gregory, thank you. You are my angel.
We have another story we'd like to share with you today, too. So I'd like to ask Laura Schaefer to come up. One heroic journey to recovery. Laura? Laura traveled early this morning a great distance to get here to share a story with us.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. This morning I came from Frederick, Maryland. I moved there 2 months ago from here. I started my journey of recovery here on the shore. I was sent from the other side of the bridge. I learned that here. I had lost everything. I had not started using until my late 20s. I'm a recovering heroin addict. And I can tell you that the face of addiction is that there is no face anymore. I come from an upper middle class family. My parents are still together. We had the white picket fence, the big yard in Southern Maryland. My dad is a retired battalion chief in the DC Fire Department. So are his 3 brothers, and my grandfather is too. I have 61st cousins on one side, and 43 of them are firefighters. Maybe that explains it, I don't know. My brother is a lieutenant colonel of the Maryland State Police. I was class president for all 4 years of high school, varsity everything, straight A's, and I was not supposed to be a heroin addict. Heroin addiction has a stigma to it that we all know. For some reason, even when I went to rehab, it was, how did you stick needles in your arm? And that's the realism of what it is. But why I'm really here is not to go into the horror stories. And there was a point that I was in the hospital for an overdose, so I'm grateful to be here. But of recovery, because every day on social media especially, we are bombarded by the messages of people that we lost and people we lose and people that don't make it. And when I first got clean, those were the messages that I heard. And I can tell you that deterrence, death is not a deterrence when you're using, so those stories don't stop you. You know every time you do it that you're taking a chance, and when you're not in a logical state of mind. So what was important for me is to let people know that we do recover. We do build incredible lives. I had lost everything, like I said, and I was on a pretty, fast rising journey to a great career. 6 years ago when I got clean, I didn't work for a couple years, but I did get back into the industry that I love. And I was just hired at a new job, which is why I moved. And I only tell you this to kind of give you a perspective, but I make well over $100,000 a year. When I first got clean and lost everything, I thought that I had lost everything and that being clean was just what we were supposed to be grateful for. But the Recovery Resource Center is something that's very important because addiction touches everybody. It destroyed my family. It destroyed the people I worked with that watched me deteriorate on a daily basis. And without the message and resources that a center like that provides, people that do recover, we stay hidden because we're scared. This is one of the first times that I'm publicly speaking because I didn't want the people that I work with in the industry that I've worked so hard to get back into to know that I'm a recovering heroin addict. It's those stigmas that keep the success stories hidden. You don't hear about them. But those are the stories that will help people stay clean when they understand that it's not just about being clean, it's about building the life that they always wanted to begin with, and that they can do it, that there's no limits. And whatever that dream is, that they shouldn't be chastised for it or held to say that, oh, that you shouldn't strive for that. Dreams are an individual's dreams, and they shouldn't be, boxed in by anything, including being a recovering addict. Because I'm a lot more than a recovering addict. That's not all that I am. I'm a mother. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a sponsee. And I try my best to be a productive member of society every day. But there was a long time that I held my head in a lot of shame and guilt for the things I had done and for the person that I had become. I can't change anything that I did. I've had some incredible opportunities to make amends to some very important people in my life. Some people have accepted graciously and others haven't, and that's okay. But what's important to me now is to help the person. There's a small window for an addict when they think that they want to get clean. It's about 15 seconds. They're scared. They're very scared. They're full of shame and they're full of guilt. So if they're not reached in that short amount of time, they've already changed their mind. And if they don't have the resources, when I moved here, I had the clothes on my back and that was it. So without a center like Recovery Resource that could help me get to the places I needed to be and the places that could really help me, I would have been right back out. And it's all about taking that opportunity, that 15-second window, and being available for that to happen. Because when you miss that window, they might not get another chance to walk back in the door. We see it every day. I can't tell you how many friends that we've lost over the past couple of years. I had a friend pass away at my house. And the guilt that's associated with those of us that do recover is immense too. Because there's a lot of times that we sit there and think, why wasn't it me? Or why did I make it and they didn't? I don't have an answer for that. I can tell you that I do believe that there's not one thing that works for everybody. So I'm an advocate of whatever works for somebody is what works. And that means different things for different people. But I do believe in making those resources and those options available and known to everybody so they understand what their options are, and to help the friends and family of those people. My family didn't know anything about addiction. When I first went to the treatment center that I went to, my dad was really confused at why I could never drink again, because that wasn't my problem. But those are things that are really important for friends and family to understand as we get back into the community, into our family. Those things make a difference. What I really want to make sure that is the message is that I can tell you from experience, and my family would tell you too, that if you don't think it's your family, if you don't think it's your friends, I would tell you otherwise, and they would too. And for those of you who have family and friends that are in the grips of addiction, please remember that they are not who they are right now, and that just pray for them to come back. Know that they're full of guilt and shame too. And places like the Recovery Resource Center can help you, can help the friends and families, because they will need you. They might not tell you they need you, and they might tell you to stay away, but they do need you. But at the end of the day, when the right things align in the right ways, we do recover, we build incredible lives, and we can become the biggest assets for the people that still need help. I just want to give back what was freely given to me. And I saw a few people a couple weeks ago that told me they wish they had known that in 6 years I'd be standing in front of them like this, because the last time they saw me, that was not the case. I really hope that our message today is hope. we have lost a tremendous amount. But I think the only thing that's going to help us get out of that is to know that people do get better, we do recover, and it's a different trail and run for everybody, and it looks different, and nothing's ever the same. But the only time that we do lose is when we give up. Thank you all for being here.
I think in today's world, we throw around the word courage too many times, too freely. Just because you're a member of a group or you have a certain occupation, you're somehow courageous, but I think that's the face of courage right there. John, I apologize for having two great speakers in front of you, because you're going to bring it home for us, though. We have a special guest speaker today who's traveled. As soon as you hear him talk, you can tell he's from Richmond, or has a real thick accent there. You notice as soon as he says something to you. But John serves on is the president of the McShin Foundation, which was founded in 2004. And the McShin Foundation operates on the founder's belief that by helping others find and sustain recovery, they can better sustain their own recovery. John and his wife, Carol McDade, established a nonprofit recovery community resource foundation. They've been engaged with individuals in the recovery community since 1982. John is a nationally prominent figure in documentaries The Anonymous People, Generation Found. John also co-wrote the Recovery Coach Manual, and he travels the country speaking and also providing authentic recovery coach training. We are so excited to have him here with us today. John Schinhauser, thank you. Mic situated for you there.
Okay. Well, good morning. My name is John Schinhauser. I'm a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorders. For me, that means I've been clean and sober since August 10th, 1982. All right. It's a long time. Can't thank you enough, Beth, for having faith in me and coming here to y'all's fabulous breakfast this morning. I was reading the program, and I mean, the old timers in the house that kept this place together all these years, man, my hat's off to you. I know how hard it is to hold an organization together amongst our kind of people. I mean, it ain't easy all the time. You know, we go up against the disease, the community, the naysayers, the other old timers that think we're getting rich off of them. I mean, it's just the stuff we go through just to help somebody, just to carry that message of hope from this illness. So somebody can end up like Laura and find a new way to live. So, you know, just my heart's full of just gratitude for you folks. You have an awesome organization here. So much to be proud of, yet so much to protect and grow from. You know, I might insult politicians and bureaucrats when I speak. I'm usually talking about the ones that aren't in the room, okay? So for my bureaucratic friends and politicians that are in the room, you're our champions, typically, okay? You're the ones we want to surround and protect. You know, a value I learned in the Marine Corps, you protect your assets. You know, speaking of the Marine Corps, I got clean in the Marine Corps in 1982. I had a colonel who recognized I was a problem child. And he gave me two choices. You go to the brig, bad kind of discharge, or you can go to treatment. Now I was 23 years old, and I'd been to jail 12 times by then, okay? 4 times in foreign countries. So I knew what was at the brig. The food sucked, and the women were fake. So, treatment was my option. And when I got to treatment, an amazing thing happened. I was thinking about it earlier. It's like the perfect system fell in my lap. You know, I was educated about the illness of addiction, fatal incurable progressive illness, but the recovery message, the treatment was delivered by recovery people themselves. And when I got out of treatment after 42 days, I was already linked into the recovering community. I had no doubts on where I was going or what I was doing. It was just a continuum of care that was an automatic, authentic, genuine system that was simple, and it worked. And I got under the wings of some old timers that saved my life. And I'm able to be here 34 plus years later chatting with you folks. Now, one of the founding principles of recovery is you help people to keep what you get. And that stuck and resonated. We watched that Generation film last night. And in that film, it was brought to our attention that 9 out of 10 kids start their addiction journey in high school. And many of those start in middle school. And, if we're not looking after our young people, who's going to do it? Now, I brought a young man with me. I gave him a shout out last night, Andrew. I'm not going to tell the same herpes story on him today. But Andrew's 18 years old. He came through, he was our first group of Academy members last season. He graduated from high school. And, I had the time of my life. I should have paid you to have to come here today. With his company driving up here yesterday, it reminded me of an 18-year-old that is so ambitious, so full of ideas. Every idea he was laying out, he got a raise out of me on the way up here, man. But I taught him the principle of fundraising. His raise is going to come from his fundraising efforts. I'm just not going to give it to him, You're going to raise money for us, and then in return, you get a raise. See, he liked that idea. See, it's resonating with him. Windshield time. There is no substitute for windshield time. It isn't. So, a few years ago, me and my wife started this foundation. We saw where people were just getting devoured by our criminal justice system. And our other agencies that were in business to help our people weren't getting it done. And one reason they're not getting it done because they suffer from analysis paralysis. When you get an agency full of PhDs and master's degrees and social workers, they don't understand the simplicity of recovery. Matter of fact, their job don't even allow them to look at somebody in the eye and say, keep it simple, stupid. They probably get written up for that. But yet in recovery, that's our daily vitamin. Just keep it simple. And we got to look people in the eye, newcomers, and after their life is in crisis, first thing we got to remind them, look, keep it simple day at a time. You're not going to solve everything right now. Matter of fact, you're thinking, what got you here? So here we are stuck in 2016 with agencies that still aren't getting it done. That's why these organizations are so vital. Our country was founded by folks who basically ran from oppression from a foreign continent. They didn't like the way they were treated. They were forced to eat their religion. They were forced to do service for no money. So we come here, we discover a new land, and the first thing we do, our culture, is we exterminate the Native Americans. They don't count. And if you don't believe in our religion, guess what? You got burnt at the stake. And if you was African American, God bless you, 300 years of slavery, not to mention Jim Crow. And the current division taking place today. Women, 1848, they figured out they was getting screwed in more ways than one. We need to vote. It took them 72 years to get the right to vote. And it wasn't until 20 years ago that Virginia made a law that says you can't rape your wife no more. So our progress is not that good as a culture, our thinking. And what happens is a lot of people make a lot of money in all of these broken systems. And I was thinking the other day, how would you like to have been a Japanese American when World War II broke out? All of a sudden, you was born and raised in this country 100 years, but because you were Japanese, you got put in an internment camp. Your life was destroyed. Everything you worked for was taken away overnight. We have a country in 2016 that our agencies, our bureaucrats that we aren't electing, for an example, they sit up there at the DEA and they invent drug laws. Kratom. Anybody know anything about kratom? Seriously? Does anybody here really know anything about kratom? All I know is it's an herb that really has no great significant value either to get you high or get you clean. But yet the DEA is outlawing it and is going to make it equal to heroin. And all that's going to do is expand the taxpayer base for the criminal justice system. So we got to wake up, open our eyes, and look all around us. There's many pockets of things that are affecting us as a recovery movement that are getting in our way. Now, the recovery person in long-term recovery, I'm sitting there looking at these young kids. If I don't do something for that young man right there, he's going to end up in the criminal justice system. You know, the past Sunday paper, if you Google Richmond Times-Dispatch, you'll see front page. You'll see him on the front page. There's an 8-minute video that goes with it. You got to watch it. His parents are in there praising the recovery process. There's 4 full pages of his story and the McShin Academy and what we're doing. And so the results are here. The evidence is here. We have, and this is stuff your organization can do, Beth. Your organization is doing this stuff too. We had a sheriff call us. We deliver a recovery program in 5 jails. If you Google Huffington Post, Chesterfield Jail, you'll see a great 8-minute video pop up, plus the front page article. That sheriff called me one day, which is cool when a sheriff calls me, and he said, I want to do a drug program in my jail. I hear you the man. I said, well, if you're serious, you come talk to me in person. He said, when can we talk? I said, I'm in my office now. He said, I'll be there in an hour. This is on a Monday. He came over, and the jail's 45 minutes away from my office. Me and David, our operation man, drove back over to the jail that same afternoon because we asked him, what are we working with? Let's look at this pod. So we go inside the jail that afternoon. There's a kid in there that was just kicked out of our foundation for relapse. And he tells me the story later. He says, I'm sitting in this cell, and I'm dreaming I'm hearing your voice and David's voice in my jail. And it was us. And this is Monday. On Wednesday, we delivered. We showed up with 2 recovery coaches trained who are in recovery, facilitating delivering the 3 major pathways to recovery inside this jail, and have been there every day since. Okay? Matter of fact, today at 3 o'clock on Facebook, we're doing a live show, Facebook show from that jail cell. Today we started, the sheriff called me the other day and said, look, I've been sending all my females over to Riverside Regional Jail, and last week I sent one over there and she died in the jail. He said, I'm not sending no more women over there who are addicts. I'm starting a female program, can you help me? What's today, Thursday? This is on Tuesday night. He texts me. Wednesday, yesterday, I text him back Tuesday. I said, yeah, I can help you. Yesterday he said, well, we just started. Today my first females are going in. This is not bureaucracy I'm talking about. This is individual people outside the box thinking, no box present thinking, an elected official, a recovery community organization, tip of the spear. You know, I'm allowed to act on opportunity when they come up. My board lets me do that. They don't hamstring me. They don't say, John, you got 34 years of recovery, we want you to run everything by us. No, they say, we trust you, we value your experience, your talent-based lifestyle, go out there and get it done. And that's what we're doing. And that's what you need to do here. And that's what you're doing it. Okay, now, you know, at your table, you'll notice a little white envelope. That ain't just there for the hell of it. You know, you need to take that with you and stuff it and send it back. Because the best money you'll ever spend is going to be in these authentic recovery community organizations, these recovery communities. I mean, Laura, there's your evidence. You know, this is real. What we do matters. What we do counts. It is so important. And I have no problem going around the country, talking to groups and people, sharing my experience. I love to talk. Anybody knows me, I love to talk. Y'all are blessed today that I won't talk that long, mainly because I take water pills in the morning. They're killing me right now. So this will be the fastest 30-minute talk I ever give. And if you hear me talking, just exit for a minute. I'm not being rude. I ain't going nowhere. It's a cross between a medical emergency and Mother Nature. So, you know, but, you know, in recovery, though, I love the part about being real. I spoke at a prison, 2 prisons last week up in Minnesota. And one of them was really cool. It was a female prison, and it was a boot camp prison. So as a Marine, they let me call cadence and do some commands and whatnot. That was awesome. But these guys and girls, they're not used to authentic, pure facilitators showing up and delivering that message of hope. It was so, and it just reminds me how much work we have to do. If you're in recovery, what is your primary purpose? Once you have that spiritual awakening, it's to carry the message to the addict and the alcoholic who still suffers. Seek them out. You know, I go through my recovery process. You know, we got a couple old timers in the room. You know, they made me and my wife, when we started McShin, it made it so much easier for us to accelerate. You know, when you run into guys like John Winslow, y'all know John, right? Always shows up, man. You know, he's been there forever, like a fixture. But he was one of them bureaucrats that was authentic. Yeah, he's a bureaucrat. But he's an authentic, genuine one. You know, he wears two hats, spiritual awakening hat, and that's the hat I aspire to. Then you got Perry, you know, he's like this groupie, this recovery groupie over there. Always lurking in the background, man. But it gives me a sense of, you know, belonging. And I love that sense. You know, Laura touched on it. When I came to recovery in 1982 and I was in that treatment center in the Marine Corps Squad Bay, I didn't know what the hell was going on. But I knew something special was happening. I knew I found something found me. I didn't choose to be an addict. Addiction chose me. I didn't choose to be an advocate. Advocacy chose me. I didn't choose to be 58 years old riding around the country giving this talk. It chose me. Well, by God, if it chose me, I'm going to do the best I can at it. I'm going to do it relentlessly day in and day out. And I want to make sure when I leave here, for those of you who are capable, you've got to, our efforts matter even more right now. We're at a tipping point in America. We're at the point where we can accelerate what we're already doing, parlay this into some major gains. We can turn the tide on the negative side of our culture in America today. Because it's our culture that's keeping us sick. It's that stigma. So many people are dying. This is the first year, if you haven't heard it yet, I'll be the first to break the bad news to you. We're going to go over the 50,000 people mark this year dying of overdoses. Over 50,000 people are going to die this year. And half of that is stigma related. 50% is stigma related. In '82, when I got clean, that was the peak of DUIs in America. DUI deaths peaked in '82. We're less than half of that right now. Now, I like to think because that's the year I got clean, DUIs went down. I think there's a connection. But if we can reduce those deaths by over 50%, imagine what we can do a few short years now. Because of the internet age, we can accelerate that reduction. But we got to speak out. Laura, I'm so glad you're speaking out. You are so important to speak out. Number one, God, your neighborhood got to be safe from fires, man. I mean, with your family all in the fire department like that. I mean, they probably jump on a grill out in the backyard. Hey, let me watch you put this out. But it is, you know, addiction is just so common, so mainstream, and it's the stigma that's killing us. You know, imagine how much sooner we'd get help if it was cool. You know, Andrew's going to make recovery look cool. He's making it look cool for me. I mean, recovery is the new cool. Recovery is the new high. You know, I got bumper stickers in my car, treat addiction that save lives. Imagine if there's 23 million Americans in recovery, 23 million Americans need to be in recovery. There must be another 23 million American, at least single family parents out there. We should have 100 million bumper stickers. Treat addiction that save lives. Recovery works. Every politician and bureaucrat in America needs to see every other car with a bumper sticker on it. Then maybe the light bulb will go off. You know, but that's our job. When we leave our job up to other people, we get what we got. And right now we have the world's largest industrial prison complex. Hello. Right now, more opiates are consumed in this nation than anywhere else on earth. You know, we have pharmaceutical companies that are out to kill us. We have public safety agencies that are out to double their budgets. And if they double their budget, what's that going to do with the treatment and recovery money? So you guys got to think. Now, you're on the right track. You know, I'm singing to the choir to half of you, I get that. And half of you are sitting in here wondering, well, really, what can I do? That's a good question. What can you do? Well, you get with Beth after this meeting. You get with the people in your program. And you suit up and you show up. And you have fun. I mean, I have so much fun in recovery. It's incredible. It's totally amazing. I mean, I didn't get clean to be miserable, okay? Lord, we have fun, don't we? Damn right. So there's a lot of fun to be had along. Well, your life ain't over. Now, I personally have always lived my recovery out loud. I'm just one of those guys, you know, when I was acting out, I didn't particularly care who saw me acting out. So the day I got clean, I didn't really care about who knew I was clean. And I live it out loud, and I wear recovery t-shirts all the time, and sometimes they ask me about a t-shirt, and then I go into my dialogue. Don't want to tell you exactly what t-shirt, because I could possibly be at the level of press, radio, and film. But it's usually centered around addiction and anonymous programs. And I really have a lot of fun with people in the grocery store when I start talking about my recovery. And it usually involves me getting a phone call, it might be 6 months later. Remember that conversation we had? Yeah, I do. Well, my son needs help. Man, I'm glad you called. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. There's no guesswork here. Now, like a lot of organizations, we have some numbers you want to think about. I still say 33 out of 34 newcomers relapse at least once. Don't treat this like a dress rehearsal. This is serious business. I do know over 60% of the people that find recovery are going to navigate their illness for the duration of their life. That's a good number. You might relapse once or twice, or 6 times or 10, but you'll navigate that illness. I know roughly 30% are going to suffer miserably, jails, institutions, and death. And because of our opiate epidemic, we're really about 1 out of 12 are going to die within 3 to 5 years. That's a lot of people dying. And I know, I said it earlier, I know we can reduce our death by 50% just by reducing the stigma. A lot of people think, give me a 2-minute warning. A lot of people will think Betty Ford really famous for the Betty Ford Center. Well, her original claim to fame was the first, prominent national figure to go public with her double mastectomy, which led to her addiction. But when she talked about it coming off Air Force One, a young lady saw that and thought, man, that is some powerful stuff. I'm going to help change the stigma associated with breast cancer. Now, she later died from cancer herself, but that woman's name was Susan Komen. We have a ton of Susan Komens in here. Nelson Mandela, he did 28 years in prison. He walked out of prison, he could have been bitter and gone left, or he let it all go and said, I'm going to use my experience for the good and go right. And look at the mark he left on earth. So you go through history, there's so many history makers out there. I'm not in this for the history. I'm really in this because every day I do this, I get a better life. I'm one of those little greedy ones, The more I do, the more I give away, the better it gets. That's pretty easy to do. Once you realize you've launched in your recovery, once you realize that the blessings you receive depend on the blessings you try to give away, I hope everybody finds that little space in their life because it's really cool. But anyways, make your mark. Go out there, chase some history. Make it count. 10 years from now, you may not want your picture and name in there, but you want your movement to be in the history books in a big way. Our country will be better off for it. It really will. So, I'm really always grateful to be asked to come share and speak. I'm going to think twice about early morning breakfasts. I'm thinking, farmers don't even get up this early anymore, do they? They do. I know they do. Yeah. It used to be golfing and fishing. Now it's like, really, speaking about recovery this early in the morning? Man, have I really lost it. But it's just so cool to be around you folks. So just remember, when you leave here today, follow your conscience, because your conscience isn't going to lie to you. And if you want a clarification on your conscience, see the old timers in the room. How many people in here got over 20 years clean and sober? Put them up. That's a lot of talent. You see those people, go make it happen. And I know with a couple of you were sitting there doing the math. I got 19 years, 6 months. Should I raise my hand? So if I said something here that resonates, you know, you're being pushed and moved, you feel good about the message, trust me, that's the God of my understanding speaking through me, reaching you to tell you to get busy. Of course, if I said something here that, you know, might have stung you didn't like, well, you'll have to see Beth because she asked me to come share. So, thank you very much.